Hi, it's Dave here, and this is my wife, Kathy.
Hello.
This is the Cinemile. It's the podcast where we walk home from the movies. But today we're not walking. Today we are in our living room, which looks like this. No, it doesn't. This is the Lemon 7 podcast studios in Cork City because it's our 10th time recording our best of the movies end of year review. We thought we would sit down in a nice podcast studio.
And we've recorded this episode on the very first one, trains. We've recorded it on a plane, Aer Lingus flight, and we've recorded it, of course, in many automobiles, as well as many walks. We've been in loads of pubs. We've done this in a hotel once where a woman told us off for being too loud. So this year we said, let's do it in a studio. We've never actually done that before. Would be really fun. And what's really cool for us is, I think in like our second time doing this, we recorded a bit on an Aer Lingus flight. And this year we're actually on Aer Lingus flights, the podcast. And that's been a real kick for us.
Yes.
So really fun. This is our favourite episode of the year. It's our biggest episode of the year, usually, albeit this year it may be trumped by the And Just Like That episodes that really took off this summer.
More on that on
More
our
on that on a different
best
episode.
of TV episodes. But we should say, if you haven't figured it out already, you can, of course, watch this on our YouTube channel. So if you're listening along and you'd like to see what we look like, come to our YouTube page. It's youtube.com/
or on Spotify.
The Cinemile.
You can watch it on
You can watch
Spotify.
things on Spotify now?
Yeah.
What is it? What even is this?
Anyway, Dave, what is this? Explain. What do we do with our very secret lists every year?
Okay, so welcome back if you're one of the listeners who do pop in just for this episode. So what we do is we are going to run down our top 5 movies of the year. Our lists are not known to each other. They're always a big surprise. These are our favourite movies of the year. So this isn't us saying these are the best movies of the year because cinema is subjective. Also, don't add us. We haven't seen every movie, so please don't send in a flood of messages. I can't believe you didn't see X. It's probably because we didn't get to X.
Yeah, because most film critics see a lot of films every week. We're not film critics, and then most average people don't go once a week like we do. So we're somewhere in the middle in terms of like the amount of movies we've seen.
Yeah. But most of our listeners have seen way
more
than
us,
we have.
yeah. But these are our favourite movies, not categorically the best movies. We're going to have honourable mentions, best cinematic experience, best scene, disappointing,
and of course the worst movie we saw this year. I already know what Kathy's is. It's
You
the
don't.
Same. I do.
My
It's
list
the same
is
as mine. I guarantee.
my
I'm
list is
calling
a
it now. I'm
secret.
calling my shots.
Right, should we get cracking first on our top 5?
Right, I'll kick off. My number 5 movie of this year is one we saw just 2 weeks ago, and it's Pillion. It is written directed by Harry Lighton, starring Harry Melling, who was Dudley Dursley from Harry Potter. Thank you, and Alexander Skarsgård. If you don't know what this movie is, I'll just say it's just your classic sort of gay biker sub-dom rom-com.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a real genre
It's one
now.
of those movies.
yeah.
No, this is unlike
It's also
anything.
a Christmas film.
It's not a Christmas film. I'm sorry. Do you want a whole podcast to get into that? There's one Christmas scene. Doesn't count. What is so good about this movie is that it's an area and a subculture that I know nothing about. Also, I feel uncomfortable towards in certain areas. Again, not kink shaming anybody, but it is sub-domination culture is something that I think pushes societal boundaries to its
You don't think
edge.
people's partners should sleep on the floor like dogs?
I kind of don't. And what I liked about this film is that it represents that point of view from the perspective of concerned parents who I related to. But because this film is so good at creating a character in Harry Melling, it's a beautiful performance, who is so wonderfully empathetic and who you care for so deeply as an audience member that I could see where he was coming from. And the film sells the joy and what he's getting from this unconventional relationship. It is filthy. Do not watch this with your parents.
It's real heavy 18s.
It is super, but it's also hilarious, heartwarming. It's unlike there's no other film like this while also it feeling like a classic sort of British feel good comedy. So I absolutely loved Pillion. Beautiful performances from both of them, and it's weird, surprisingly kind of romantic.
It's so
well.
it really is.
So that's my number 5 movie of the year. Kathy, what's your number 5?
My number 5 is also about a kind of niche subculture that I don't know much about. It's Saipan, the movie about Roy Keane's flame out in the World Cup in the noughties. Can't remember the year now. We haven't reviewed this on the podcast
2002.
yet. 2002, thank you. We haven't reviewed this movie on the podcast yet because we watched it at the Cork International Film Festival opening night, and it's not actually out on general release till January, but look, we saw it in 2025, so it's my number 5. This is such a fun film. Now, I truly have no interest in soccer. I barely paid attention in 2002 to the Roy Keane scandal, despite being from Cork. It was in the peripheral of my knowledge. I knew it happened, but I wasn't particularly concerned as a 16-year-old girl. This film is a cracker. So you've got Éanna Hardwicke, who's from Cork, playing Roy Keane in a phenomenal performance, and then you have Steve Coogan playing Mick McCarthy, and it's this epic battle between these two men who hate each other. You've got all the noughties, culture stuff. It was a very stylish film. So it's directed by Glenn Leyburn and Lisa Barros de Sa. The script is by Paul Fraser. It's really stylish, to the point where as it began, it was so stylized that I thought, is this going to annoy me? And it didn't. Éanna Hardwicke's so good as Roy Keane. He kind of gave me shivers. I just found the whole thing to be really fun, really funny. And it's also really tragic. It's like a Greek tragedy.
Total Greek tragedy.
Yeah, you kind of watch it going, no. And my little sister Elizabeth was with us, and she didn't know what happened. And she kept waiting for Roy Keane to get back on the plane to go to the World Cup. So she watched it fiction.
Like the Ross and Rachel thing. I got back on the plane.
She was like, when's he getting to the World Cup?
Yeah, real life doesn't work
No,
like
I
that.
didn't remember the details, and I knew he wasn't going to play in the World Cup, but even I had that feeling as well. It's almost like a bit of a romance. And the film, it's really interesting because we're from Cork, so everyone in Cork loves Roy Keane. But there was quite a divide in the country at the time. People in Ireland were really angry at Roy Keane, and people in Cork were really angry at Mick McCarthy. But when you watch the film, I think it does a really decent job of showing both sides.
Yes.
So I found it to be an absolutely brilliant film. So
that's why the movie is so tragic, because
it's
so avoidable.
Yeah, it's so avoidable.
It's just it's a personality clash at the highest level.
So Saipan is my number 5 movie of 2025, but will be in cinemas January 26th.
Okay, excellent. It's a great film. I adored it as well. My number 4 movie of the year is the movie Weapons, which was directed, written, produced, and music by Zach Cregger, who made the absolute blinder movie a few years ago, Barbarian, right? And this is another guy like Jordan Peele, who came from comedy. He's a comedy sketch guy and became a horror director. And I think this seems to be a very common path. And in fact, Jordan Peele was allegedly furious because he tried to snap up this movie, Zach Cregger's next movie, and he missed out.
Can I interrupt for a second?
So he went to
it's
Warner
so weird
Brothers.
to be looking at you as we're talking. We record the podcast side by side.
We don't look at each other. We look where we're walking.
Do you know the way people tell parents of teenagers that when you want to talk about something really tricky with your teenager, go for a drive because you don't have to look at each other?
Yeah.
That's actually how we've been doing our podcast for 10 years, so I'm now
It's also
horrified to be looking at you.
People don't know this. This is also how our marriage works. As well. we looked at each other at the altar, and we haven't looked at each other since.
You look great, actually.
Thank
nice
you.
To
You
see
too.
You. Yeah, it's nice to see you.
You're gorgeous.
Anyway, sorry, continue.
So Weapons, okay? For anybody who doesn't know, this has a cracking premise, and it's in the tagline, which of course I didn't write down, but I'm going to paraphrase it. It's something like, at 2:17 a.m. in the morning, all 24 students from Miss X's primary school class got up, ran out the door, and were never seen again. It's something like that. What a great premise. The movie starts there. Literally is the first opening minute of this movie. And so you're gripped with this mystery. Why did all these children leave at exactly the same time? Great setup. And you're dealing with the fallout of this immediately in the aftermath of this, from the parents, from the teacher, who's brilliantly played by Julia Garner. Josh Brolin is an angry parent. What a year for Josh Brolin in Wake Up Dead Man as well. Alden Ehrenreich is a sort of flaky cop in this. Benedict Wong is the principal. So the movie deals with the aftermath of this event. You've got this mystery, but what it does, I think, also is it's one of those movies that shows you several different characters' perspective of the same events, or it's kind of Rashomon style, but you get into their own heads, and I think they're very well written, they're very well developed, beautiful performances. But the central mystery of this movie and the sort of horror edge to it, as it reveals, is an absolute delight. It was a joy to watch in cinemas. Yeah. And this movie is so funny. It was weirdly hilarious. The man, he comes from comedy, but it's also super scary and tense and quite original. It's there's some original twists on some classic horror conventions. I'm here for anything Zach Cregger does. This is an excellent movie. If you haven't seen it, seek it out.
Okay,
That's
brilliant.
Weapons.
Not on my list, but I really enjoyed Weapons as well. My number 4 of the year is another Irish film. This one is Christie, which we saw this year in the cinemas. We have reviewed it, so we have a full review of it available for anyone who wants to listen. It's Brendan Canty's feature film, feature film debut, I would say, as a director. He's from Cork. The film's set in Cork. He co-wrote it with Ellen O'Gorman. It was originally a short film, then got expanded into a feature after a successful festival run, which often happens. It's a wonderful film. We both loved it this year.
It's beautiful.
It's set in the north side of Cork. It's about this guy called Christy who's in kind of foster care system, and he's got a very complicated family. And it's the kind of film where it could veer into, if it wanted to, the kind of poverty porn genre. It never does that. It's a really deep film. It's got wonderful characters. Anyone who knows the Cabin Crew, who are a group of Cork kids who have this phenomenal music success, you might know their song The Spark if you don't know who they are.
Yeah, it was like a global sensation.
Global
It went
sensation,
viral,
yeah.
didn't it? Yeah.
Anyway, the Cabin Crew kids are in this film as well. It really touched me very deeply. I thought the performances were wonderful, particularly the relationship with Christy and his brother I found gorgeous. I found the hope in the film lovely. And there were conflicts, obviously, but the conflicts felt really grounded. I found the whole film to be really wonderful, and I recommend anyone who hasn't seen it, seek it out. No, it's not Christy, the movie with with what's her face?
Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney. I hate that film, and I ain't watching.
They came out around the same time as well. Very confusing.
I ain't watching the Sydney Sweeney one, that's for sure. But this is a phenomenal film. I see it's getting a lot of credit in end of year list, which I'm really pleased to see. So I say seek it out, and I can't wait to see Brendan Canty's next movie.
I agree. This is a fantastic film. Everyone should watch it. Cabin Crew can act and sing.
Unbelievable.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
My number 3 movie of the year is another horror film. Kathy didn't see this, and we didn't record an episode on it. I watched this by myself late at night, which is not how I recommend to watch this. Bring a friend. It's called Bring Her Back.
You kept trying to tell me about this film, and I said, I don't want to know, because it sounded so scary.
And you should never watch it. I'm telling you right now, you would hate this film. And I would be very wary of recommending it to everybody, because you need a strong stomach to watch Bring Her Back. So this is directed by twins, Danny and Michael Philippou, who are YouTubers originally. They made horror sort of YouTube pranks. Written by one of them with Bill Hinsman. It is their follow-up to a great movie which you did enjoy called Talk to Me, which was a horror movie from a few years ago, which was absolutely fantastic.
It was more of a teenager movie though. I could handle it.
That's way more. That's way more accessible. I'd confidently recommend Talk to Me to anybody who's even halfway into horror. Bring Her Back goes hard. It stars, I guess the name everyone would recognize is Sally Hawkins in a role which kind of plays on how sweet she is and how likable she is as an actor, and makes, kind of weaponizes that because she's sweet and nice, but something's not right. The plot is a brother and his stepsister. In the very first few minutes of this film, they have to go into foster care. Sally Hawkins is their foster mother, and there is another child there in the home played by Jonah Wren Phillips. And something's not right with that child.
I'm already horrified by this film.
This film is so good because the casting director and the way that these twins directed these relatively unknown kids and teenagers, that take a bow because they're incredible performances. A lot is asked of all of them. And as an audience member, you care so deeply and are so invested in what happens to these, which puts you in a position of being constantly in a state of anxiety and fear. Isn't this a great recommendation? So if you want to spend 2 hours in an incredibly traumatic experience, filled with with trauma, grief, anxiety, and honestly, two of the most awful scenes that involve eating things that are not supposed to be eaten.
Very
If any
sick.
of that sounds like your bag, watch Bring Her Back. But like Zach Cregger, I am here for anything that these twins make from now on. The modern horror directors coming up these days are just some of the best talent in movie making. That's called Bring Her Back. Don't see it
Okay.
unless
It's
you
so
really
funny
want
'cause
to.
normally when we're recording, I like tap my watch the entire time.
You
Dave's
can't do it
talking.
now,
I
we're
can't do it on
filming.
video.
Yeah,
It would be
yeah.
too rude. Okay. My number 3 movie of the year has already been mentioned. Our first crossover, Pillion.
Excellent.
I call this a romantic comedy. I know it's also called a dom-com, which I absolutely love.
good.
It's like a new genre, and it's my favorite new genre. It's wonderful. Look, you've spoken a load about it already. It's based on a novel, which I now want to read, called Box Hill. Alexander Skarsgård and Harry Melling, quite something to behold together. They have the best chemistry. I'd have never put them together. Like, in a million years, if you asked me, would I watch a film with Dudley Dursley and Alexander Skarsgård, I would say, like, as a couple, I would have been like, huh? That's
Yeah.
just the weirdest casting ever. I really think Harry Melling's very cool, and it makes really interesting choices, like, creatively. Alexander Skarsgård's had the absolute time of his life this year, going around dressed in like various like leather outfits, kind of supporting it. So before I'd ever even seen the film, I'd seen all his really fun fashion, and like I was quite warm to the film, but I wasn't expecting it to be as sweet as it was. I would say it's a sweet film. It's a funny film. As Dave said, it explores like a culture like that I don't really know much about either, in that like completely like a submissive versus a dominant.
Plus bikers.
Plus, then they're bikers. So yeah, it's a mad subculture. So I had a really good time with that. I will say again, like, content warning, like there's some really explicit scenes in it, and some people messaged us on Instagram saying like they found it too explicit, and I get that. Like, I'm personally not interested particularly in like seeing very, very graphic prosthetic scenes, but I accept that this film did it, and I still love this film. So yeah, that's my number 3 of the year, Pillion. I think it's brilliant.
Have you
Brilliant
noticed?
film.
Have you noticed the trend in cinema and TV where we're getting a lot of rubber dongs?
Yeah, I'm not into it. Like, I'm
Rubber
just not
dong.
into it.
Nosferatu apparently had the rubber dongs.
And we also saw one
the
in
chair
the
company,
chair
big
company,
rubber dong.
But the chair company was really out of pocket because, like,
House of the Dragon.
you don't even know, like, you're watching the chair company and then next minute, whereas Pillion, I'm like, do you know what? If you go into Pillion, you know what you're going to get.
Kathy, we'll talk about it in our TV episode, but Kathy really didn't like
I
the
thought-
chair company rubber dong.
I just thought it was really inappropriate. Anyway, Dave, what's your number 2 of the year?
My number 2 movie of the year is One Battle After Another. This was Paul Thomas Anderson's latest movie, written and directed by him, starring Leonardo DiCaprio. Don't know why I said it
his
like
name.
that. Sean Penn in, I think, one of his like best performances I've ever seen. That walk.
Not a Sean Penn fan, but he's very good in this
That
film.
walk, like what that man, what a strange character. Teyana Taylor, who we did like, is so good in this film, you don't get enough of her.
Yeah.
And Chase Infinity, who was in Presumed Innocent recently, and I think is a really
Which I think
great
Presumed Innocent was
up-and-coming
on
actor.
at least one of our lists last year for Best TV.
I'm sure it
Yeah.
was. So this is a film, I don't even know how to describe it. I knew nothing going in. It's kind of nominally about a sort of radical leftist sort of activist group and it sort of deals with sort of polarizing politics and radical politics in the US. That sounds very serious. This movie is absolutely hilarious, while also being entertaining. It is tense. It is gripping from like minute one. This movie is long. It's so long. It's pushing like it's 2.5, maybe 2 hours 45. It is not boring for 1 minute. It is. There are some shots in this film and scenes that will stick with me forever. It's one I will revisit. I think it's incredibly entertaining, rewatchable. It also has something to say about the state of the US right now. It feels particularly targeted at that. But also, I think it's also not preachy, and I think it sort of is able to poke fun a little bit at both sides, while also feeling incredibly contemporary and relevant. And my God, it has one of the best car chases in cinema history. Great use of locations as well.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it, all I'll say is hills.
Why are you staring at me while you say the
I'm
word
staring down the
hills?
camera.
Right.
You just don't like me looking at you. Never again.
Yeah, it's weird. It's making me uncomfortable. My number 2 of the year is a movie you've not seen, but I watched at the Cork International Film Festival, and I adored this film. It is The History of Sound. So I believe it's already out in the States, but it's coming out here in January. It's one of those confusing release patterns. I think it's on Mubi in the States already. It stars Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor, who are like 2 of my absolute fave actors. Obviously, humongous crushes on both of them. I love folk music, and I love films about music or with music as like a central theme. And this film, if like one of my favorite movies of all time is Inside Llewyn Davis, and I would say this pairs perfectly with that. You would really love this. So it's a period drama. It's romantic and period, and it's music. I don't really know what you'd call it. It's directed by Oliver Hermanus, written by Ben Shattuck, and it's based on a pair of Ben Shattuck's stories, The History of Sound and Origin Stories. So it follows the relationship between these 2 men, Lionel, played by Paul Mescal, and David, played by Josh O'Connor. So they meet in 1917 at the Boston Conservatory. Paul Mescal's a singer, and Josh O'Connor is a musician who collects songs, which is such a cool premise. And I've never really thought about this, but of course people would have gone around, like even hundreds of years ago in Ireland, like Carolyn would have gone around collecting tunes, right, and like noting them down. So they're going around, they meet in 1917, and then after World War I, they go around rural Maine in the winter of 1920, and they're like collecting songs on this like wax machine that you rotate and it captured sounds.
Wow.
It's another gay love story, very different from Pillion.
So he doesn't sleep at the foot of the bed?
He doesn't know. It's so romantic. Like, I'm a really corny person. Like, I would say this movie kind of teeter into corny, but I love that. I found it incredibly moving. Like, their perform. Like, can you imagine like just watching Paul Mescal and Josh O'Connor on screen together? There's really wonderful themes. Like, they're going around, for example, like in Maine of 1920, there'd be a lot of fairly fresh Irish immigrants. So they're capturing Irish folk songs. There's a lot of African immigrants. They're collecting African folk songs. There's this beautiful song that Josh O'Connor sings at the beginning, or that Paul Mescal sings at the beginning, and they kind of sing together throughout the film. It's like, "Don't Wake My Mother." I don't know the song, but it's so beautiful. Where this film has let itself down is it's not the film's fault. Like the studios are really pushing for Paul Mescal, right, to get nomination for Hamnet, which we've not seen. And Josh O'Connor's been really pushed for a different film that I can't remember. So this film isn't really getting an awards push because the focus is elsewhere. This film didn't even get a soundtrack release that I could find. And I was desperate. Like, I left Inside Llewyn Davis, I listened to that soundtrack for like an entire year. And I ran to get the soundtrack for this, couldn't find it anywhere. So I think it's getting a little bit buried. Such a shame.
They might be waiting till the movie releases to release it.
But it already released in the States, though.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, so I think because of the lads being so famous and in other bigger films, it's kind of been let a little bit down. But I absolutely loved it. It was a packed, like I saw it in the Everyman Theatre at the Cork International Film Festival, was fully sold out. Huge reaction from the crowd. Like, it was beautiful. I totally recommend. Anyway, I've talked too long about that one. But that's my number 2 of the year, History of Sound.
Irish actors continuing to dominate, and yes, we've to all our English listeners, which is most of you, Josh O'Connor is ours.
He is.
We've claimed him.
He's sort of Irish.
He's sort of
Irish parents, something like that. Yeah,
that counts.
Right. What's your number 1 then? I think we've the same number 1.
I think so too. I really think we do. Yeah. And my number 1, you mentioned Irish folk music and African folk music, and this film combines both of those. Yeah, we definitely have the same number 1.
Let's just say both of our number 1 then is Sinners.
Sinners is I knew it'd be yours as well. Kathy and I had such a, I think, transcendent cinema experience watching this movie. You know, when you're watching a movie with someone and you can almost sense their vibe or their body language or their energy. Well,
we were literally whispering to each other, "This is fucking amazing."
Well, that's what tipped me off, that you thought the movie was good when you whispered that to me. But we were like giddy. We were giddy in this cinema. When the first half of the movie, you're like, the plot hasn't even kind of kicked in. And I'm like, I could just spend 4 hours in this universe. And then there's a point, there's a musical scene in the middle of this movie where you're like, hang on, are we watching one of the greatest movies of the
Like
last
ever made.
10 years? This is incredible.
Like this isn't even a best of 2025.
And then it just straight up turns into like an action film and a horror film.
I consider this truly to be like a musical coming of age.
Yeah, it's
every genre.
It's all of these
I
things.
would never class this. I would say it's coming of age first, and it's culture and music, and very far down I'll be putting.
But it's got
horror
all
as
of
the
these
genre.
things, and what's great is
Yeah.
it does all of them so perfectly and so beautifully. I would say we went into this film cold, as in we didn't really know even the sort of, there is horror elements to this. We didn't even know.
We jumped into it, by the way. We knew it was Ryan Coogler.
Why don't we say what it's about, just to sell it?
We knew who made it, and that was enough for us to go.
That was it. So written and directed by Ryan Coogler, right? Stars Michael B. Jordan as twins, Haley Steinfeld, Miles Caton, who has a voice on him.
Yeah, amazing.
Jack O'Connell is brilliant here as the villain, and like old school actors like Delroy Lindo. I think the thing to say about this film is go see it, not knowing anything about it if you can, if you haven't seen it already, right?
A lot of people saw it this year.
But nominally, it is set in the Deep South in the US in the 1930s, 20s or 30s. Don't know the exact period, but it's sort of, I think, it might be even be during Prohibition. It is about a pair of twins sort of returning to their hometown to set up a nightclub.
And they're returning from Chicago.
This movie, returning from Chicago, to sort of rural, I think Mississippi. I didn't write down any of the details.
Doesn't matter. We loved it.
This movie is so cool. It is like effortlessly cool. The costumes, the sets, the actors, like it's just watching.
It's not effortlessly cool. A lot of effort went into this.
That's true. Yes, but it looks effortless.
We have recorded a whole review on it as well.
That's true, but I gotta say, it's just delicious. It's delicious to look at. It's delicious to spend time in it. It manages to be scary, tense, kind of funny at times. It also has something to say about, I think, immigration and community, kind of about cultural appropriation in a way. It's got some persecution thrown in there from the time it's set. But it feels so modern and contemporary and cool while also feeling like timeless and historic. And like Kathy said, it has such a good grasp on music, and it manages to infuse music into the core of what it is so perfectly without just feeling like cool needle drops, right? This movie is about music and people's relationship to music. But the last thing I'll say is this movie is sexy. It is like incredibly sexy. The sexy people in it having sex, and you don't get sexy movies anymore in Hollywood. I think Hollywood has become very sexless.
Yeah, and sanitized.
Sanitized, yeah.
And this film has like real chemistry between a lot of the characters. Also, it has real family chemistry where like you feel these really deep family bonds. It's got like loads to say about like minorities at the time. It's like the kind of, there's heavy references to the of course the African American community, then the Irish, and the Native American, and then there's Chinese immigrants, and it's like all these people in a town that's segregated and ruled by these really dominant, awful white like groups like the KKK. So all that's like a fascinating texture to the whole thing. But at the end of the day, it's a story about a young boy and his like coming of age and like this night in his life. And what I find fascinating about like any good coming of age film is that it will always be this one night or like one day that transcends. Like that's how the genre works. And this exactly did that. Like I think you could write you could do like a whole piece about how this is like number one coming of age film. And I find it fascinating. The music's unreal. We could talk about it all day. Let's not. But I do want to point out that this was a wholly original film written by Ryan Coogler. He obviously cut his teeth in a lot of stuff, and he's done his time on franchise movies between Creed, which we love, and Black Panther, which is definitely one of the best Marvel films. But it's so interesting that this is an original property, made so much money. It was done by Warner's, and like Warner's are now being sold to Netflix.
Yeah.
And it just Netflix makes some of the worst movies out there, and it really leaves us thinking, at the end of this year, for Warner's to have had a success like that, what is going to happen? We might give Netflix the benefit of the doubt that they'll still allow some original good films to be made and like released in cinema. But like this brought cinema back to life this year. Like everyone was going to see Sinners.
It is sad that Warner's went up for sale, and they've been planning this for years, right? Clearly, because they've been gutting the company. This was always going to happen, but it is ironic that Warner Brothers had one of the biggest years at the box office that they've had in a long time. Sinners, a Minecraft movie, cleaned up. That
Also
was
known
theirs.
as a terrible movie.
It's terrible, but it's like it had an audience and it went viral
Our kids are
and
still
social and chicken jockey and all that.
Our kids
We're too old.
I heard
but
them quoting it like last week.
there you go. Like that film made bank because because they put it in cinemas and Gen Z and Alpha showed up. Superman got third in the US box office. So it was the biggest superhero
And do
film
you know
of
how
the
much
year.
Sinners trended on TikTok? Insane. The Rocky Road to Dublin.
Yes.
Never seen anything
Yeah.
like the TikToks about that. Like it captured so many different cultures, so many different age groups. Everyone was so excited because it was original. Anyway, that is...
So they had big franchise movies, but they also
Yeah.
had two of my top 5 of the year. They had Sinners and Weapons, Warner Brothers.
They had 2 of Dave Corkery's top 5 for the year.
That's patented Dave Corkery. And they came to me and they said, Will Dave, we've got some great movies
We
coming
actually get paid for these lists as well. But we do need to wrap up on our top 5 so that both of us joint number 1 there on Sinners. And we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back for the rest of our movies.
See you in a sec.
See you in a sec.
Okay, so now we're going to talk about some of our honourable mentions. These are movies that we thought were really good but didn't make our top 5. I'm going to just say that I also had Saipan and Christie. For a while there, I thought your entire top 5 were going to be Cork films.
I would have loved that.
Would have been incredible.
Unfortunately, I don't think there are 5 Cork films this year.
I'll read out another couple of mine. Blue Moon, the new Richard Linklater one with Ethan Hawke, which might still be in cinemas. I highly recommend everybody check out. This is one of those ones where the script is like so
good.
delicious. It's
Also
all
shot in Ireland.
Words. Also shot in Ireland, yeah, that's right. Ethan Hawke playing a very, very small man. Some great like behind the scenes stuff and how they did that. Brilliant film. Companion. Do you remember seeing this?
Companion's on my list.
Companion,
Yeah,
yeah, so
I
good.
love
Why don't you
Companion.
talk about Companion for a second then?
So Companion is a really clever sci-fi about somebody who has a, I guess, AI / sort of fembot companion. And
It's a fembot rom-com.
fembot rom-com, sci-fi.
Yeah.
We had such a good time with this. It's very clever. It's very fun. I totally recommend. Yeah,
It's
brilliant.
very twisty as
Yeah,
well,
really
and
good.
it's
It's good fun.
It's very funny.
Yeah.
September 5 or September 5th is a brilliant, cracking journalism movie about the Munich massacre and the American team that broke that story at the 1972 Munich Olympic
Mm-hmm.
Games. And Kathy, I don't know if you or our audience know this, but I actually studied journalism.
Oh, did you?
And so I'm a big fan of
Dave's
journalism.
slagging himself because I told him
journalism
every time he
movies.
talks about journalism movies, he references how he studied journalism.
Kathy, why don't you give us a few of your honourable mentions?
I also had one battle after another. I have a film that I saw again at the Cork International Film Festival that is out, I believe, on Stephen's Day or Boxing Day. It's called Song Song Blue. It's Hugh Jackman.
I thought this would be on your top 5.
It nearly cracked my top 5 because like anything with music in it tips me over the edge. But like I already had for my music, I had Sinners and I had The History of Sound. It's about a Neil Diamond tribute act, which is really interesting. It's based on the real story of this tribute act, and so Hugh Jackman is obviously the impersonator, and then we have Kate Hudson playing his romantic partner, and also she does the singing and the keyboards. It's a really, really wonderful film. Interestingly, Kate Hudson's been getting a big awards push on it, and Hugh Jackman hasn't. And I honestly don't know why, because I think he's absolutely amazing in it. It was such a fun cinema experience. It nearly made my one of my cinema moments of the year. Like, there's a montage in here where he's just like, I'm not doing Sweet Caroline. Like, he's like, he's got such a range, like, I don't need to do Sweet Caroline. But there's a point in this film where they kind of embrace the Sweet Caroline, and there's like a montage of them singing Sweet Caroline. And honestly, it gave me chills. It was so much fun. I had a really good time with Song Song Blue. I love it.
I think Sweet Caroline's a crap song. I'm putting it on record.
It's a cracker, I think. I've written this Karate Kids Legends
Karate Kid Legends.
We had such a laugh at that film.
We did. We watched it with our two kids who'd never seen any Karate Kid film.
They'd also never seen a sports movie, so they what an introduction to the genre.
So they thought he was going to lose
they were really
at any
upset,
minute. Yeah.
They were really, but it was a cracker. I loved the new Karate Kid. I thought he was absolutely wonderful.
He's a great actor, and he also showed up in The Long Walk, which was a good film.
Yeah, he was very good in The Long Walk. We got Joshua Pacey Jackson there as the kind of old trainer. I had a really good time with that. The kids had a really good time with that.
It's good fun.
You've already mentioned Superman, but I loved Superman. And one other Irish one to mention here in my honourable mentions is a really interesting short film that aired at the Cork International Film Festival, but it's going to be around because it won Best Short at the festival, which meant it was longlisted for the Oscars. It didn't make the shortlist. It's called Mary is Missing. It's a film by Aisling Byrne. It's wonderful. It's a very, very unusual film in that the entire cast is actors who have Down syndrome. And Aisling actually made the film through workshopping with those actors around scenarios, and it's a mystery film. It's about their carer, Mary, who goes missing. And they're all being investigated, kind of like Line of Duty style, and interviewed, but they're unreliable narrators. The acting's brilliant. It's a really cool film. And to make this film was a really huge undertaking because you have to way more you have way more time to film and write a movie like this to take into account the needs of the crew and the cast. So I thought it was such a cool film, and I really admire her for the labor of love that this film is.
Remind everyone of the name of it.
It's called Mary is Missing, and it's by Aisling Byrne. It's a short film.
Excellent. I'll just quickly talk about superhero films. So superhero films kind of dead in the water at the moment. I think they're definitely out of favour. I'm a big superhero movie fan going way back, but even I'm sick of them. But there were two really good ones this year. I think Superman was the best superhero film that came out this year, hands down, I think. Thunderbolts, I think, surprised both of us.
Yeah,
it's not a perfect film by a long shot, but it's surprisingly heartwarming. I think that film was much better than I think I expected it to be, and had some really interesting elements to it and a great cast. Fantastic Four was good, but I think forgettable. I forgot that movie existed.
Didn't remember we saw it this year.
And then Captain America: Brave New World. Less said about that, the better. 28 Years Later came out. 23 years after the first movie, from Danny Boyle and Alex Garland again. This film is incredibly good, tight, tense, almost perfect, except for the end, which you can hear us go on about on our...
And which is apparently what the next movie is going to be.
I know,
so I'm
very nervous about that.
Yeah.
We just watched Wake Up Dead Man on Netflix. We have a recent episode about it, but I thought it was a cracker and I absolutely loved it. Megan 2.0 got no buzz. Nobody saw it. It tanked at the box office.
We saw it.
We
didn't record it. We didn't
do an episode on it, but because we watched it on demand. But my God, it's great crack. It like Terminator to Terminator 2. It goes from horror to action. It's real stupid, but deliberately stupid. It's very funny, very entertaining. I absolutely loved it. Couple more from me. Black Bag was a cool spy thriller we saw earlier in the year with Michael Fassbender and Cate Blanchett. Felt like a very old-fashioned, almost 90s thriller movie, which you don't get in cinemas anymore. And I don't think we will get in cinemas anymore once Warner Brothers gets acquired by God knows who. The Monkey, great little horror film, which I really enjoyed. Kind of Final Destination kind of vibes to that, and more on Final Destination Bloodlines shortly. And lastly, this was a great year for Tim Robinson, who we love, sketch comedian, whose Netflix show I Think You Should Leave is fantastic. And clearly he's caught attention because he had a movie this year and a TV show, which we'll talk about on our TV episode, called The Chair Company. But he had an A24 movie with Paul Rudd called Friendship, which is so weird and out there and very Tim Robinson that, again, I don't know if I'd recommend it to everybody, but it's odd and weird and funny and interesting, and I laughed so much. So it's worth a look. Okay.
I've got a couple more. Is that the end of your list?
Yeah, go ahead.
Good list. Four Mothers is another Irish film that nearly made my top 5. I love this film. It's on demand now. I reviewed it earlier this year with my mom. And it's about this guy, this group of friends who have all these moms that they're looking after. And three of them end up like going away and leaving one of them minding the four mothers. And it's a gorgeous film. It's really funny. It's really interesting themes in there as well. And it's a small film, but it's a film I loved. I watched a film this year at the Prisma Queer Festival in Cork, which I hadn't been to before. And this was such an interesting, it was a documentary. It was called My Sunny Side. Now, I'd say it's hard enough to find, but I bet you could rent it now. And it was fascinating because it followed this trans couple, so a trans man and a trans woman, through their relationship as they get married, at least one of them's undergoing hormone treatment. And like they've got kids, the pandemic hits, like it goes through a lot happens in the course of this documentary, which takes place over years. And like the pandemic coming in was a real surprise because it changed so much.
For all of us.
I
us, remember.
to come back to this film and go, oh no, it's the pandemic. There's illness in there. But overall, like it's a lovely love story of these two like very unusual people. Like one of them's like a tech bro, like startup dude. One of them's like a biology teacher in a university. They're just like really interesting. Like you'd never see like an actual fiction movie made about these people because they're just so interesting and unique and quirky, and like I absolutely loved it, and I really felt for them. Like I was really rooting for them as a couple.
I think films like this are so important when the trans community is particularly seems really under attack at the moment from culture.
And this is just a lovely film about two lovely people. If we can make
more films about them to like just express empathy and relatability
and it's like,
here,
who
it can only
cares
help.
if they're doing hormone treatment? Like it's just part of their life when you're watching this, and I love that. And then I have to mention K-pop Demon Hunters because of the year that it was, the year of K-pop Demon Hunters. Every child this October was dressed up as Rumi. Every little girl that came to our door was Rumi at Halloween.
Legit cultural phenomenon.
Cultural phenomenon. Our kids watched it like when it came out, and they often will watch things on Netflix, and we won't watch it with them. And they literally came to us and they were like, "No, like you should watch K-pop Demon Hunters."
They said I want to listen. So they started listening to the soundtrack in our car, requesting it, and then we were like, "These songs are good. Like the soundtracks are good." And then they were like, "No, guy." They said to us, they did the recommendation thing. They were like, "No, Mom and Dad, you need to watch this film."
And they never they know when there's movies we're not going to be into, and then we all watch it as a family.
It's a great film.
It's a cracker.
I thought it was really good,
and it really centers female friendships, which isn't actually usually the case.
I do have an issue with the fact that they all look like Bratz dolls.
I hated how they were animated. Absolutely hate it. Now, the Saja boys are very cool, and our kids, because we have two boys, did ask to be the Saja boys for Halloween, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm not that creative.
We can't do that.
So anyway, K-pop Demon Hunters makes my list. Right, what are we on to next? Best cinematic experience?
No, well, do you want to do that?
Yeah. Well,
okay, so let's start on a positive before we get to the negatives. So, Kathy, what was your best cinematic experience this year?
I found this one really tricky. I'd say Karate Kid.
Okay. Because we saw it with our kids.
This always if it's a film we watch with our kids and it's like a really meaningful experience for them, I really feel that. And like it wasn't a great year for kids movies in cinema. Like watching Minecraft was like hell on earth for us. That was our
worst cinematic experience.
Exactly.
Because I was so confused.
It was so confusing, and the kids were all so noisy, and like luckily in our one they weren't like throwing stuff at the screen, but I just found that really unpleasant, and also I fell asleep, so I can't judge the film properly. I just had absolute time at like Karate Kid, like to have Elliot turn to me and be like, "Mommy, he's gonna lose," and I had to be like, "I think he's gonna be okay." And they were like karate kicking when we came out the cinema. They were running up and down the cinema. It was just like I mean, I also don't think they've ever experienced like really good montages before. So like the training montages were like, you get really head up on a good montage. They were really head up. So that's my best cinematic experience.
Okay, excellent. My best cinematic experience this year was at Final Destination Bloodlines.
That was very fun.
Which is a brilliant movie. This movie is so fun. I almost put it on my top 5. It actually came close. I loved this movie so much.
I loved it too.
It's a Final Destination movie through and through, but I think it's one of the best ones, if not the best ones. These guys have a great handle on what these movies are, why they're so fun, and it's watching it with an audience. It's all about the expectation and the suspense of looking at these everyday objects and trying to find out what's good. And this was such a good cinematic experience because it was packed, and we were all as a group just going.
And the opening scene was so unexpected as well. Like, it was so good.
Oh, God,
I have to say, I went for an MRI like 3 months later, and I got into the MRI, and I was like, have you seen Final Destination? They're like, yeah, everyone says that.
Well, let's move on to our best scene of the year, because I considered the MRI scene from Final Destination Bloodlines for my best scene of the year.
It's a cracker.
But again, we're not going to spoil any
Yeah,
of the
no
scenes.
spoilers
But I
either.
think it'd be. I couldn't pick anything except the Sinners one-shot incredible passage through
It's mine
time
too.
era and that song and the way it all blends in, and I have listened to the Ludwig Göransson
So we're talking
score
about
for
I
this
Lied to You, the
over and
song.
over again. Yes, but particularly that scene in the middle where
Mm-hmm.
we won't say what happens, but it's like goes through time and different cultures,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like it is so almost superfluous to the movie in a way. Like this movie would be perfect without that. It's just this icing on
Yeah.
the cake that they did that, coordinated it. It's also
it's unreal.
beautiful. Oh,
It's like the camera's
chef's
actually
kiss.
gliding around, like,
Yeah.
because one shot's is so difficult, and this film's like, yeah, I can do that. It's so confident. I watched that scene thinking, I wish I was there. Like, I rarely think that about a
Yes.
film, but I wish I was there in real life.
Yeah, right before it all goes to shit.
Yeah, but just that moment.
Yeah, the bit where it was fun.
Like his Miles Caton, sorry, I should know how to pronounce that. His voice is so deep.
Oh my god! And this guy's like in his
beautiful.
20s or
Yeah,
something. He
and
sounds like
it's such a beautiful song. It goes from like, and you know, there's like references to like within the scene, not in the song, like modern ballet, a 90s DJ, 80s breakdancer, like African tribal dancers. It's unreal. Second to that, very close second for me was also from Sinners, which was the Rocky Road to Dublin.
Oh yeah, what a scene!
cracker.
What a scene!
Now we got to move on to some of the bad stuff, Dave.
Okay, so the most disappointing movie that we saw this year. We're only allowed to have one, but I'm going to shout out two that did disappoint me before I get to my big one, okay? Wicked Part 2, right? Wicked Part 1 put me on a journey where I sat there for the first 25 minutes thinking, I'm not into this. This isn't my vibe. This isn't for me. And then the movie won me over because Wicked Part 1 was so good, and the chemistry between those two weirdos in the in the lead roles. And they are weirdos in real life, as far as I can tell. But they are so good on screen together.
They're so talented.
They're so talented, and their chemistry sold that movie.
But you know what? Like, all good creatives and all good musical theatre kids are weirdos, and I love them for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it worked. And so I left Wicked Part 1 won over. I'm like, I'm into Wicked now. And then Wicked Part 2, and we kind of knew it was the second half wasn't as good having seen the stage show. But that movie's an absolute drag.
Yeah.
It's boring as all hell. It really let me down.
Yeah.
And I wanted to leave the cinema. So that's one I considered. Mickey 17 was, I think, a real
Yeah.
disappointment for me because...
Same.
And I think there's a great movie in here. It's the Bong Joon-ho, Robert Pattinson sci-fi one. And I love sci-fi. It's a great concept.
Great opening.
Great opening.
Yeah.
There's so much good stuff in here, and I want it to be perfect, but it's just a bit of a mess for me, unfortunately, and it didn't all hang together for whatever reason. And I'm rooting for Bong Joon-ho. Come back and give us another banger, please, Bong. But the one I chose was Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, because it massively just let me down. We love that franchise so much, and this was kind of built up as the big climax for we might not see Tom Cruise again, we might not see Ethan Hunt again. He's in his 60s and he can't keep doing this mad stuff forever. And it's not a terrible film. The action scenes are incredible. And again, they're doing some of their great work. But if you take out the action scenes, this is a disaster of a movie. The plot is stupid.
Yeah.
It doesn't hang together. It's bloated. It's self-indulgent. And we know that Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise can do better because we've seen it. So very disappointing.
And what's interesting about the most disappointing list is that there are always things generally that are a sequel or an adaptation because they have
we've
built-in
expectations,
expectations
yeah.
or a filmmaker that we really like.
Yeah.
Wicked
Always.
Part 2 was on my list as well. You can hear us shit all over that film on our review. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning is also on my list because it just should have never been a two-parter because the movie got so caught up in being the second part of a bigger story that it actually, the first 20 minutes of this film is a recap.
It's a recapping that stupid first movie.
Which is just totally uncinematic.
If I have to hear the word entity said one more time.
Another disappointing for me was The Twits. So disappointed with that adaptation. Netflix blew it. Like, after they brought us Matilda, which was so wonderful, but really was a direct adaptation as a stage musical, so that's why it was so good. The Twits, they absolutely ruined it. Even our kids didn't think it was good. But my biggest disappointment of the year was Anora. It had all the Oscar buzz. Everyone was talking about it. And I watched it and I thought, this? I thought the acting wasn't good. I thought the film was a mess. I think it's one of those films in years to come people will look back on and be like a bit embarrassed that it won all the awards.
Or maybe it's just that we don't get it. Because I'm with you, it didn't work for me.
But I'm talking about disappointing here.
Yeah,
I was really, really disappointed. And then finally, we are on to our worst movie of 2025. Of course, again, this is subjective. Don't sue us.
Sue us? Who's coming for us? Warner Brothers are busy right now.
I mean, a lot of people came for us for our Wicked review.
That's
so
true.
A lot of the Wicked people weren't very happy with us.
Okay, I'll go. So I considered a few things for this, okay? A Minecraft movie was a contender for me.
Strong contender.
Just because I think that movie is so dead and soulless and lifeless despite being incredibly colourful. And I get it, it's not for us. Or we're not Minecraft people, we're not kids. And they got something out of it, great. But I just think this is a terrible, terrible film. Captain America Brave New World is a terrible film as well. It's just bad. It might be one of the worst Marvel films they've ever made.
And that's saying a lot.
It's a
given
disaster.
their recent
It's a
slate.
disaster. The twits I put on the list, I just found it's such an ugly it's such an ugly film. It's an absolute mess. I don't know, every decision they made to me seemed to be the wrong decision. I couldn't believe it. Even our kids didn't even enjoy it. That said, they went back and watched it 5 more times.
Kids, like, that's
so
what
they're
they
just gluttons for punishment.
They don't watch anything though.
But my worst movie of the year, and I think you might have the same one. And again, I think a lot of people do love this movie. So a caveat again, don't come at us on this. But I think it's Babygirl, because that movie is so up its own arse and so pretentious, and it thinks it's so sexy and cool and saying something interesting about power dynamics. And I do not think it landed any of that stuff. I think it was actively bad, melodramatic, not sexy. I don't know. And especially when you see Pillion, which is dealing with very similar matters and is a masterclass in how you do that. This film is not relatable. I don't know anything about the main characters. The stuff that you do find out about the main character is told to you in dialogue at the end. There's no subtext in this movie. I thought it was an absolute disaster. And you made me go to it, and I'll never forgive you.
It's funny because we went to see Babygirl in January, and we came out and said, "Is that the worst film we're going to see this year?" And yes, it was, because it's also my worst film of the year.
I knew it.
It's so funny that we saw that in January, and then we saw Pillion in December, and it's like embarrassing how successful one is and how pathetic. If I have to watch Nicole Kidman play a rich, older
New York based
socialite / Hampton / billionaire fucking stone-faced woman, I'm gonna scream. Like I can't, like she used to do really good stuff.
She's a great actress. She's
but
got
it's
range.
now like we know she has no range left though. Like she, no matter what I watch her in now, it's that. And like the guy who plays her love interest in it,
he's a good actor.
Really good. He actually,
There's no character.
His name escapes me, and he actually directed a film this year that was apparently really good. He's great. Like we had seen him in a movie a couple of years ago set in a cruise ship, which was a cracker that we loved.
Triangle of Sadness.
Triangle of Sadness. Film. Anyway, Babygirl is wooden. It's embarrassing. The sex scenes are embarrassing. It's like the film actually thinks it's clever to be like, ooh, guess what? Like the CEO's a woman, and that's like, whoo. It's like it's not 1989.
Take a pause and let that sink in.
That's genuinely the film's like you wouldn't believe it. But the power dynamic has shifted, and the boss is now a woman.
And the intern's a man.
But don't worry, we'll shift it back, and we'll make him the dom. So, like, don't worry, she's actually not in control at all in this film. And then Antonio Banderas is in this, and like
they did him dirty.
I'm sorry for him. Also, this movie was basically a Christmas film, and it made no sense time wise. Like there was Christmas trees in every scene. Didn't all appear to be set at Christmas.
This film seems to take place over the course of
a
6 months or a year, or so. But we couldn't figure it out. We were like, is it 2 Christmases?
Has
a year
always
passed?
Christmas trees.
There's Christmas parties all the time.
Anyway, I'm so embarrassed for everyone involved in this, and when I watched Pillion, I did think like, when there's very sexual scenes in a film, you have to be very careful what filmmaker you're working with, because if they're bad, it's so embarrassing, and if they're good, it's wonderful. And it's not really the actor's fault in either case. Anyway, so we've the best and worst of the year, same film.
The same film, simpatico.
Yeah,
it's almost like we know what each other are going to
watch. every
It's
week
not what I was
when we
gonna
go to the
say.
cinema.
No, forget it.
Episodes out
I'm
every
never looking
Sunday.
at you again.
And we do have something before we kind of wrap up the episode to say. We're doing a live show for any of our London listeners in Hoxton in London on January 29th with friend of the podcast and Empire Film Podcast host Helen O'Hara. So we're going to put link in the show notes. We'd love to see you there if you're coming.
Come see us.
Come see us. It'll be so fun.
Come say hello, please.
Yeah, we're going to have a really good time with Helen doing that. So I can't wait for that.
So that's it. Look, best and worst movie of the year, the same. Sinners, Babygirl, polar opposites.
Yeah.
Listen, a huge thank you for listening or watching along. If you are there on YouTube, reach out to us, please do. thecinemile@gmail.com. Or you can head over to our Patreon page, where we get hundreds of supporters and listeners who pay for the price of a coffee a month to get access to retro movie reviews and TV reviews. Our TV Best of Episode of the Year is coming out shortly on the main feed. It might already be out, so keep an eye out for that. We're going to hear from some of our patrons now in just a moment with the best and worst of their year, and they're always they're way cooler than us and have seen more movies. So you'll get and so a lot of range of perspectives and opinions there. So hang on for that. But before we go, just to say a huge thank you to Leah and all the team here at Lemon 7 Podcast Studios for hosting us. Thank you for listening, and thank you, Kathy, for 10 best of episodes and for doing this podcast for nearly 10 years.
Yeah, it blows my mind. When I realised this was their 10th one, it blew my mind. And I remember so vividly the first time we did this on the train from Richmond into the city in London, and we raced through it. And now we spend far too much time doing these episodes, but we love them. We've so much fun. I'm always dying to hear your list. And thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you very much. So now you're going to hear from our patrons.
Hi Dave and Kathy and everyone watching or listening. My name's Cara. I'm at my boyfriend's very well decorated house. And my favourite film of the year by far was The Ballad of Wallace Island. I saw it in cinemas 3 times at the Watershed Cinema in Bristol, and I absolutely loved it. Every time I watched it, I laughed, I cried, I had such a great time, and I definitely will be watching this so much in the coming years. And the film's soundtrack album was in my top 5 albums of the year. It's incredible. I still listen to it all the time. Go listen to it and go watch the film if you haven't. And honourable mention to Eternity, the rom-com that just came out recently. I thought it was so sweet. It just made me so happy. Merry Christmas. Bye.
Hi, this is Liz Mitchell. My favourite film of the year was Weapons. The scene with the kids running out to Beware of Darkness was just wonderful, and the film was fantastic. It was just really original, and I love the endings for everybody. I'm hoping that it picks up a couple of awards and comes back to the cinema in 2026. I don't really have a worst film, but I was really disappointed by The Running Man. I'd be looking forward to it for such a long time, and I love Edgar Wright. But it just didn't grab me, and I thought it was a little bit long.
Hey Dave and Kathy, this is Johnny Keys from Charleston, South Carolina, currently sitting under the stairs with all the Christmas presents where it's quiet. These are my best films of the year: Sinners, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, The Ballad of Wallace Island, The Naked Gun, The Order, Predator Badlands, I Like Me, the John Candy doc, Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, Sisu 2, The Road to Revenge, and the Jack Quaid double bill of Companion and Novocaine. Most disappointing films of the year, probably, 28 Years Later, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, The Running Man, Paddington in Peru, and the Pixar film Elio. And my worst films of the year are You're Cordially Invited, Another Simple Favor, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Sorry Everyone, but One Battle After Another. Not for me. Thanks for a great year, and big love to all the patrons.
Hi Dave and Kathy. I couldn't compete with the studio, so I brought you to the University Library in Cambridge for a backdrop. 2025, an amazing movie year. I can only limit it to 5 rather than a top 1 movie. So The Horrors, Weapons and Bring Her Back, both great. The standard picks that are going to be on everyone's list are Sinners and One Battle After Another, and The Ballad of Wallace Island for a lower budget option. As for disappointments, I think I never thought it was going to be amazing, but the Thursday Murder Club, how did they mess that up with that cast? Okay, have a great new year, Cinemilers, and keep going, Dave and Kathy.
Hello, it's Claire C from Cardiff. My favourite film of 2025 was Weapons. It went places I didn't realise it was going to go, surprised me, thrilled me, made me laugh, caught me off guard, and I sat and watched to the very end credits because I didn't really know what to think, feel. Just loved it, absolutely loved it. Original, just loved it. Worst film, The Naked Gun remake. Is it just called The Naked Gun? I'm so looking forward to it. Really disappointed. Love Liam, love Pamela, but it just wasn't funny. Anyway, love you guys. Happy New Year. Take care.
Hi, this is Neil, and this is my wife, Kate.
Hello.
And we're here to talk about our best and worst movies of 2025. My best movie of 2025 was Bring Her Back. It was just a really great movie experience that I haven't had one like that in a long time. What about you, Kate? What was your best?
I had two best movies this year. The Ugly Stepsister. I don't know if you guys have watched that, but it is like a magical nightmare, and I loved it. And then also the movie Together. I really enjoyed the acting and the body horror, and I just want to merge with you, Neil. What was your worst movie of 2025?
The one that stuck with me as the worst was definitely The Gorge on Apple TV. Just nothing good about that I remember. And your worst, Kate?
My worst was Babygirl. I thought it was going to be so hot and amazing, and it was just very cringe and gross.
And then just honorable mention for Sinners was really good. That was really fun. And then we also both had a very memorable experience watching 28 Years Later in Alaska,
we
crying
both cried
alone in a theater.
Yeah, it was just us, and we cried.
So anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi guys, this is Linda, Kathy's mom, and I didn't get to see a whole lot of movies this year, but I think there were two that stood out for me, and they were both kind of musical, but one was Sinners, which really blew me away. It was so unexpected and I loved it. And the other was Song Blue. See, I even want to sing when I'm saying it. It was just such a fun entertainer. And I think my biggest disappointment was Steve. I'd heard great things about it. But I don't know if the energy was frenetic. I think it was set up like that, filmed like that, but I was getting anxious watching it and I didn't enjoy, so I didn't get very far into it. And that's it. So Happy New Year, y'all.
Hi, Dave and Kathy. Sam from the 90 Minutes or Less Film Fest podcast here, a podcast that loves under 90-minute films. It's been a pretty good year for under 90-minute films, I would say. A real highlight was a film called Flow, which if you haven't seen is beautiful. It's animation. It won the Oscar for the best animated feature, in fact, in 2025. It's so good, and it is 80 minutes long. What a joy. I'd really recommend that. I would also recommend a British comedy film called The Ballad of Wallace Island, starring Tim Key and Tom Basden, co-written by them as well. That is a wonderful film. I've been lucky enough to talk to them a few times, and they've even came on the 90 Minutes Less podcast. But a big recommendation. The film isn't under 90 minutes, but it's not far off, about 100 minutes or so. My least favourite this year, I don't know, it feels like we're punching down a little bit, but Gurinder Chadha made a Christmas movie called A Christmas Karma with Kunal Nair from Big Bang Theory and Danny Dyer and Hugh Bonneville and a whole bunch of folks. Just awful film. Really, I think it has a good intentions, but it isn't executed super well. I found it quite hard to sit through. However, have somehow watched it twice, so what do I know? Anyway, love the Cinemile. Thanks, Dave and Kathy, for another fantastic year of podcasting. Look forward to listening in 2026.
So every year I collect posters for my favourite films from that year, and I put them all on this wall like so. My third favourite film of this year is Sentimental Value, which I saw at SIFF, and it blew me away. My second favourite film of the year is One Battle After Another, which I still haven't stopped thinking about. And my favourite film of 2025 is Blue Moon, which came from my favourite director of all time, Richard Linklater. I loved every minute of this.